Hey everybody, Motorport 59 here. Well, saw this morning that the Black Lives Matter movement made the statement, essentially, more cops, more blood, which they're saying if they hire more cops, which New York City wants to do, that there will be more blood. When are these people going to be labeled domestic terrorists? They are not they're not even an activist organization, they're terrorists. Plain and simple. So is Antifa. The media and basically everybody else refuses to call these groups what they are, which are domestic terrorists, while they apply that label to some of the people who showed up at the January 6th incident, knowing that many of the people who instigated the problems there were not Trump supporters. They know these were BLM people. They know these were Antifa people. They know these were leftist plants. Let's talk about all the people who were killed January 6th. One person, a conservative woman who was shot from behind by a police officer who was never charged. How is that considered a terrorist act by these people who were climbing around and I made a video before. If you were one of the conservatives who broke down through the fences and was climbing around this woman, it was tragic that she was shot, but she should never have been there. If you went there as a conservative to cause problems, any trouble you got into you deserved. But if you were a conservative there just to be there to protest formally and legally, and you got swept up in that's tragic. And no one's talking about terrorism there. Black Lives Matter, their whole narrative is responsible for the death of many policemen around the country. Directly responsible. It is responsible for the murders of people, the rape of people, the vandalism and the pillaging of cities and towns across our nation, and no one wants to call them domestic terrorists. Black Lives Matter and Antifa are directly responsible for these smash and grabs that are happening in San Francisco and anywhere else are directly responsible for it. That stuff wasn't going on. There was none of that before the Black Lives Matter people came out and started causing problems across the United States of America. People are in danger today. The average citizen trying to go buy a pair of shoes, the average citizen trying to go get some groceries, the average citizen trying to get some gas, they're in danger. I don't go anywhere today that I don't look over my shoulder constantly because I just don't know what's going to happen anymore. And no, I'm not a person who walks around armed, but I am aware. And I do have things in my vehicle with which to defend myself should the need arise. I've never been involved in it, but I live in a very conservative area of the United States, and particularly of California, and I'm very, very, very thankful for that. I just don't understand why these groups are not being called out for what they are. I know that a lot of politicians aren't going to do it, and a lot of businesses aren't going to do it because they don't want to be labeled as a racist. There's nothing racist about being honest about what these groups represent. They represent death. They represent violence. They represent problems. Not one solution to any of the problems in the United States have come about because of the actions or intervention of Black Lives Matter or Antifa. Not one. All they've done is cause problems. You don't threaten people. You don't threaten citizens. You don't threaten law enforcement. You don't threaten politicians with violence and action and the vandalism of their homes and destruction of private property. You don't do that if you're going to want to bring about solutions to problems. That's not the way you go about that. But that is exactly what Black Lives Matter does. That is exactly what Antifa do. They are not interested in solving any real problems in America. They are after one agenda, BLM. Antifa has a little bit different agenda, but they're on the same page. And both of those agendas involve domestic terrorism because they involve terrorizing American citizens. And terrorism is terrorism. Terrorizing someone's terrorizing someone. If anyone out there can provide one example to me in the last 20 years of a conservative act of terrorism, I'm not going to change my view on BLM or Antifa, but if you can provide me with that, we might have a debate about what terrorism, domestic terrorism particularly, is especially. But I'm thinking that no one out there can provide me with a true act of terrorism, and certainly not during the January 6th fiasco. I don't know. What do you think about all this crap the BLM's talking now? Antifa's been kind of quiet, so I'm not sure what's going on with them, but you can bet they haven't gone away. But they're both domestic terrorist groups. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Shoot me an email at motopoet59@gmail.com. Like, share, subscribe. Click on the bell if you want to be notified of future content. We'll see you all later.